Hi everyone, this is Ginger Balch from In Sheep's Clothing, welcoming you to another episode of Focus on Fiber. Today we are going to pick up where we left off with our knitting entrelac. So if you remember from the last episode, we had started off with our little bottom triangles on the entrelac, and then we had done our side triangle, and as you can see we're doing it in two different colors so that we can really see the patterning like what you see here. So we have our side triangle, and then we worked our second rectangle here, and then our other side triangle here. So we start with our bottom triangles, then our second row always has a side triangle, center rectangles, side triangle. So now we're going to be picking up from the third row, which would be, you can see how it goes this way. Well, now it's going to angle this way. So now picking up, and this I'm also going to be changing color, we'll be picking up from the side triangle, and I will be joining with the second color. Now what we're going to do is I will have purled, I'm going to purl this stitch, which will also connect, oh, here we go, I need the actual needle to purl with. Going to purl the new color it would help if I have it in the right one. Okay, so now we have our new color joined. Now lots of times what they do when they're picking, we have to pick up 9 additional stitches along the side of the triangle. I have a way that what I like to do, first I'll show you how they normally do it. My yarn's all tangled up here. Okay, so like we were doing before, we would just pick up knitwise, and we would go into our stitches and pick up our with the yarn and pick up a stitch. So we just go in, pick up a loop, go in, and pick up a loop. Well, that's all great, and if you look at most entrelac, it is done this way. But what happens is, as you're picking up, you're going to have what I kind of find objectionable, is you will see the pink going through the green. I mean, once you have all your squares and triangles picked up, after a while, because it kind of overlaps a little bit, you don't notice it so much. But I have a way to kind of go around that. So what I'm going to do is, instead of picking up knitwise, I'll pick it up purl-wise. So instead of going in from the front of my work and picking up my yarn, I take my needle and I go in from the back like this. And we have to get the right yarn here. And then I will pick it up purl-wise. If I can catch the yarn. There we go. And I'll do that all the way across for 9 stitches. Sometimes it's a little tricky to catch it, but I think it's worth the effort. Once I have this done, you'll really be able to see it. There we go. And make sure that we don't split our stitches in the process. For some reason, this needle happens to be a blunter needle, so I'm not picking up as easily as I usually do. So I have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Actually, okay, we want to pick up 9 stitches, and that's why we have a space. So we want to have 10 stitches total. There we go. So there's our 9. So now, I'm sorry, picked up 9, so now we have 10 total. So now we're going to turn the work around, and if you remember how this goes, we're going to knit across the 10 stitches. Oh, and also let me show you. Now we have eliminated those little purl bumps from the wrong side, and we have a nice edge here without the purl bumps showing. And I just think it's so worth that extra effort of picking up Purl-wise. So now that we've done that, now we're going to turn our work. And this is where our decreases start. So we'll purl across the first 9 stitches. And that's going to leave us with 1 stitch left in the pink. And if you remember how we did it the last episode, we take that stitch with the first stitch of the green and we purl those 2 together. And then we turn our work, and then once again knit 10. Turn our work, and we're always maintaining those 10 stitches. So I'm going to purl across the 9, there we go. So there's our 10th stitch, and so we have our pink and our green, and you can see how there's a hole there. So what we're doing is we're going to purl these 2 stitches together, which is going to close up that gap. And then we turn and then knit 10 again. And as you can see, here's our little rectangle starting. Okay, and we're going to turn again. And now again, we're going to purl the 9. Okay, there's our 10th stitch, and there's the gap again. Purl those 2 together, and you can see what's happening is we're maintaining those 10 stitches, which is giving us the rectangle, but at the same time we're kind of eating up the stitches from the other rectangle here. So when these are all gone, this rectangle on this side will be finished. So now we turn, and we're going to keep doing our 10. So we'll just keep repeating in the same way until all those green stitches are gone. Now it's also on this row that there are no side triangles. There's just the rectangles. You only do side triangles every other row. So again, purl 9. Okay, going to purl those 2 together, close the gap, turn, 10 stitches again. Every so often you have to kind of, at least at the beginning of doing this, you have to remind yourself that, okay, this really is working, because it starts to get a little weird looking. So we're going to purl our next 9 again. We're almost getting pretty close to being finished here. And hopefully you started knitting the sample from the last episode so that you can be knitting along with me today. And there we are, purling our gap together again. And then knitting 10. And turning. Okay, and then these go together. There's just something to me with the Entrelac that's just very magical. That it's just kind of showing itself to you as you go. You start out with nothing, and then you have this really very unusual pattern that if somebody looks at it, they really kind of can't wrap their head around how you did it. There we go. Okay, almost done with this. And now you can see how that rectangle is working. There's our side triangle that we picked up, and we're working this rectangle here, and see how we're just about done with this one here. So this rectangle is now on top of that one. Oops. Oh, hold on. Oh, okay, we're almost done. I just have one more to go here. Okay, so then our 10. And then this will be our last one. And what I'd like to do is to be able to show you how to finish this off when we're done. Okay, so there's our last one. So there's the last stitch from the previous rectangle and our other triangle. So now we purl those two together, turn it around, and there is that rectangle completed. Whoops, let's do it this way. So there's our side and our completed rectangle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up along this edge and do another rectangle. And again, we're going to do it purl-wise, so it gives us a better look. And I know we're only picking up 10 stitches, and you look at this and you say, that's an awful big space to pick up 10. But just don't forget that for every stitch that you're picking up, you're skipping, you're going over to, you've got 20 rows, so you're skipping every other. So we're going to purl it. So there's 1, 2, and this feels it'll feel really weird. Sometimes people like to actually use a crochet hook to put the crochet hook through and then pick up the stitch. Because basically as I'm knitting right now, I'm getting all tangled. As I'm knitting right now, it's basically like I'm crocheting. So let's see, we're 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So it's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I try to get into that very last stitch so that we don't have a big gap. And then pick that up. So there we go. So now we've picked those up purl-wise. And now we'll do this rectangle, which will be going this way. And you just basically have to trust sometimes that this, by following your pattern, that you are going to end up where they say you're going to end up. And then I like to just double check myself. 2, 4, 6, 8. See, the good thing I did. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I have one more stitch to knit. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay. And then again, we're going to purl across 9 of those 10 stitches. Okay, and then we're going to purl these two, the pink and the green, together, and we will be working across that that last triangle. So then 10 stitches again. And actually, okay, so we'll do that. Sometimes it's easy to keep knitting across, but once you've knitted a few rows, there's such a big gap that you realize that you've done your 10 stitches and you don't, because the last thing you want to do is to keep knitting across your other rectangle. Okay, so there's our 9 stitches, and again we're going to close up that gap by purling those 2 stitches together and then turn. Okay, so see how we have this gap here, so we know not to go any further. And then we're going to turn. And in case you've been looking at this shawl here and wondering, I know I've had a lot of people that have asked me how this edging, okay, you're starting to get the idea how the entrelac works, but how the edging worked. And basically, because you're looking at this frill that's here, the frill is done by simply dropping a stitch. There was a ribbing, and then what happens is you drop the stitch and it creates this elongated opening, which creates that frill. I think it's a nice edging for that. Okay, and then we're going to turn. And after I finish this rectangle, because we'll have, you have an odd number, like with the first one, we had 1 rectangle. Well, across here now, we're actually not odd. We're going to have, you always have 1 more rectangle on the row that does not have your side triangles. So you had your 1 rectangle here, so we're going to have 2. And when that's done, then you would do your side triangle and then work across again. But what I want to do, because we don't have that kind of time to do an additional row, is that I want to finish it off, and I want to show you how, basically how we have the edging at the bottom, we have a straight edge. Well, we want to do it so that we have a straight edge on the top. So that's going to require that I'm going to do a little ripping and then show you how to do that. So just show you one more time what this is going to look like. And then I'm going to show you how to do the straight edge. Okay, so you can get the idea that there's our rectangle. Okay, it's going this way, it's going to eat up the rest of these stitches, and we'll have a rectangle going this way. And then we'll start again with triangle, rectangle, triangle. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to rip out what I did, because I don't have an extra, I didn't do another sample for that. And then I'll just pick up my stitches from the triangle. There we go. And this rectangle has to go too. Some people kind of get a little nervous ripping out like that. You can do it stitch by stitch, but this is fine too, as long as you can catch all your stitches. So I'm going to rip this out. There we go. And the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to leave, because this is what you would have to do anyway. There we go. I'm going to leave the picked up Purl-wise row on here. Let's see, I guess I need to pick it up this way, because we would have to pick it up again anyway. So we might as well not do it twice. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now the way that we work this, okay, so I will have, let's see, let me backtrack this. Okay, no, actually I want to rip out one more row. There we go. There's our purl pickup. So I'm going to pick it up this way. Okay, and we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, I want to undo this one because we're going to pick this up. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so we're going to turn it around and we're going to knit our 10 stitches. Now this is going to be our, what would be our finishing final row. Okay, now what we're going to do is when we turn, instead of purling 9 like we did before, we are going to start by purling 2 together. There we go, purl 2 together, and then I'm going to purl 7. And then purl 2 more together. Turn. And then we're going to knit those stitches. Then we're going to turn. We would have knit 9. And now we're going to purl 2 together again. So we're going to be decreasing 2 stitches on either end on the purl side. There we go. Close the gap by purling those 2 together. Turn. And knit across these stitches. Turn it. And again, purl 2 together at the beginning. Across. Purl 2 together, close the gap up, turn, so we're going to get that nice straight edge pretty quickly here. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to purl 2 together. Okay, I'm going to knit. Purl 2 together again. We're almost there. Purl 2 together, purl 2, Pull two together, turn. Lots of turning here, you will become the expert at picking up stitches when you're done with this technique. Whoops, forgot my purl two together. Okay, purl two together, almost there. Purl one, purl two together, and knit three, and then our last row here, going to knit, purl one, no, sorry, going to purl two together, and then purl two together, and then one more purl these two together, and then we have our nice little finished edge. Oh, and I just did something wrong. That's what happens when you rush. But anyway, this will give you the idea. See how we did this? So I just had a little bit more to go, but there's our straight edge for our finishing. So now you have it. That's how you do the entrelac. And I just want to thank you one more time here for you to spend time with me exploring the knitting entrelac. I hope that I've tempted you and given you, maybe will give you a chance to get your own entrelac project to try. And remember, even though it's summer, you should still try to keep a focus on fiber. We'll see you in the next time. Thanks.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.